On today's wrestling news, Tony Khan announces that he's very interested in Zelina Vega.
A UFC megastar teases a WrestleMania or WWE match.
John Morrison suffering from a knee injury.
And some top superstars are potentially set to team up at WWE Fastlane.
Are you ready? Are you ready for the news time? Yes, welcome to the Saturday News. My name is Phil Chambers and I'm joined by Gareth Morgan. But before we get into it, make sure you subscribe to the channel, like the video, comment down below what you think of all of today's news stories, and links to each story is in the description below. Click the timestamps and away you go. But first up, Tony Khan was speaking on the Wrestling Observer News Radio yesterday. Wrestling Observer Radio yesterday, about a certain Zelina Vega and saying how he is very interested in reaching out to her to get her into AEW. Now, obviously, she was fired after the whole you can't stream on Twitch and do outside things like Cameo anymore. And she was very outspoken to that since she is quite big on Twitch, which is A to Z on YouTube on Twitch if you want to go check her out. So obviously she got fired after that, and then she's been under a no-compete, which should be ending imminently. On the radio as well, Khan said that he thinks that she's still under the no-compete, but as soon as they've got this women's tournament out of the way, he will be reaching out to her to try and get her in AEW. Personally, I think Thea Trinidad, her real name, would be a fantastic fit in AEW. I think she'd bring something different to that women's division, a little bit of star power, a little bit of like TV like confidence and personality. Like everything she did in the sort of managerial role, the on-camera stuff, she was absolutely fantastic at, and every day she was getting better in the ring. So I think she'd be a really, really good fit there over in AEW. What do you think?
No, she definitely will, and like you said, it's that bringing eyes to the division, which would be the massive plus for this, because I think as far as the actual in-ring actions going in AEW in that women's division, if you watch it anytime it's on Dynamite, Dark, and Bleacher Report at this point, it's always a pretty high top quality standard. I think what they're missing right now is just marquee names, like stars, for want of a better phrase. You know, people that you can just go, oh yeah, there you go. They've got that thing, that it factor. And I think if there's anybody deserving of it, like at this point, it is Thea Trinidad. It's so strange that we kind of have to use the name that she's escaped to really like talk about. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Zelina Vega, just to it's a very odd thing. But I also quite like how refreshing it is that Tony Khan's just admitting, yeah, we are probably going to go after her because she's a really big person to have. Like, you'd be stupid to let her go. Do you know what I mean? Like, I understand this. I think it'd work out for all parties, and it's just a very good move, really, if you just look at it that way. But speaking of good moves for all parties, Triple H has responded to a bit of a tease, bit of a back and forth that we've seen over Twitter over the last day or so. Finn Balor put a picture on Twitter, and it was like action figures. So it was Finn Balor with his NXT Championship and Conor McGregor with Triple H in between. So instantly, I was a bit like, oh god, this is... Well, no, actually, I wasn't like that. Instantly, I just thought, oh, that's quite cute. That's a funny thing. They're both Irish, way. But then Conor McGregor saw this and put, "No more Mr. Nice Guy." Like, he did a little quote tweet, and I was like, oh, this is a little bit interesting. And then after that, Triple H saw what Conor said, and then quoted it, captured it, whatever, and put, "Just say when." That's it, Phil. It's happening. It's happening. Conor McGregor is going to fight Finn Balor, and Triple H is going to be the referee at WrestleMania. It's going to be the main event. Step out of the way, Tribal Chief. I'm getting very carried away. I keep doing this. But, it's a weird one, because it makes sense, because Conor McGregor is a big superstar name. He get a ton of eyes on the product, and he's kind of been involved with this weird pandemic era of entertainment and sport events, because recently, obviously, had a fight against Dustin Poirier on Fight Island. Didn't go to plan, but it'd be a good way for him to make a few extra pennies, you know. I mean, I hear he's skint, Conor McGregor. He's got no money. Yeah. He's not got a yacht. He's not
needs
that extra little pocket money, bit of pocket change. So it would make sense. Whether it happens, I'm not too optimistic.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think very much just teases at this time. Well, we'll wait and see. You never know. Stranger things has happened in the wrestling business. I mean, the Big Show versus Shaq could happen on AEW now. So who's to say that this can't happen over in WWE?
Madness. What a time to be alive, Phil.
But yeah, speaking of WWE, and going back to the Wrestling Observer Radio, it was announced yesterday that John Morrison is suffering from a knee injury. You may have seen it on Raw. He was in the match against Matt Riddle, and he did this sort of twisting dive to the outside where he kind of bounced off the top ropes and did a twist and then hit Riddle on the outside, and he landed very hard on his knee. And then he was kind of favouring it through the match, and then later on when he came out with The Miz later on Raw, he was limping then. But yeah, Dave Meltzer on the Wrestling Observer has said that he is suffering from a knee injury. No word though on how severe it is, how bad it is, whether he'll be taking any time off. I guess we'll have to wait until Raw next week when they sort of reassess it and see where it's at. But we will definitely keep you informed on that. John Morrison himself hasn't said anything about it, but he has been up on Twitter. He put a tweet up just saying, "I saw stuff online about me botching a dive Monday. The landing didn't go as pictured, but the dive was pretty close to exactly what I've been working on. As soon as you eliminate the human idea that you need to jump off your feet to springboard, a world of possibilities open up." He's a ridiculous human being. He's just so athletic, it's nuts. But he put up a video as well of him doing the exact dive, but in like a sort of trampoline center or like a parkour place, I guess, where he's like diving off this massive high horse thing and doing a big flip. And it is exactly the dive that he did. He like bounces off his knees on the thing and then does a twist. And the dive itself is mental. Everything that John Morrison does is just so athletic. It's insane. I guess just the landing wasn't exactly what you'd call perfect. But we'll keep you up to date on what happens with his knee.
Yeah, it's a shame that, because like you said, he's such an innovator. And that's what I love about John Morrison. He's constantly trying to push himself and try things. Like that could just, like you said, it opens up a world of possibilities that you can just throw yourself. Like
What's this? You don't have to jump off your feet?
Yeah, he like thrusts off his hip on the... It's madness. I love that. I love the behind the scenes little stuff where you see him training and practicing with it. It's not just an off the cuff thing where he's gone, oh, I'm going to try it a bit different tonight. He's actually put a lot of work into that, and it's a shame that his knee's been battered off the back of it. So wishing him all the best. Hope he's back to fitness as soon as possible if he is indeed quite hurt. But no idea I'm going to segue this one, so I'm just going to go for it. But there's Miz and Morrison are a tag team that were kind of thrown together, and we're very close to potentially having another team thrown together for Fastlane.
Hello.
Nailed it, Phil. Nailed it. It was good stuff. So on SmackDown, there was Daniel Bryan came out at the start of the show, and he was like, I want to challenge Roman Reigns for the Universal Championship because you took me on after I'd beaten everyone in an Elimination Chamber match. It wasn't fair. And then Jey Uso was like, no, you got to fight me first, scrappy do. And then that sort of changed what were potential plans, because we went backstage and Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville were talking to Edge, and they were like, oh, we're going to do a tag team match with you and Daniel Bryan taking on the Tribal Chief and Jey Uso. But now Daniel Bryan, what's he like? This match has just kind of fallen into our laps. Can't really say no. And then obviously as the night went on, Daniel Bryan didn't actually win the match because it was a double count-out finish. Spoiler, sorry for that, but hopefully if you're watching this video, you've seen SmackDown already. So potentially that match could still be on, because it was mentioned a few times throughout the night. There was obviously that little segment at the start. There was Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman talking about it. Roman was like, oh, they've scrapped the tag team match. So that almost suggests that he had something to do with that. So he potentially spoke to Adam Pearce and went, I think you should do this with Fastlane. He was like, yes, don't kill me. So it's a match that'd sell me for Fastlane. I'd be so ready and fired up for that. And there was also a little moment on SmackDown where you had Daniel Bryan and Edge just having a bit of a competitive back and forth, but it did get a bit darker than what we've seen of Edge recently. Like Daniel Bryan was saying, yeah, I've got a better chance of beating Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, and Edge was like, oh, really? See about that, buddy. So I like this. I really like the dynamic of it all, and I'm interested to see where it goes.
Yeah, 100%. I think like the Daniel Bryan bit, like trying to bring the ultimate opportunist out of Edge kind of thing. I like this. I actually pitched something very close to this before the Royal Rumble on WhatCulture or something. Not to toot my own horn, but I'm great. But it was Jey Uso and Roman Reigns are going up against Edge and Kevin Owens if they wanted to extend that. But chucking Daniel Bryan in there, worthy swap out, I'd say. And definitely a match that I would definitely get excited for at Fastlane, which you don't get to say very often.
Yeah, well, you can sense WWE are trying to bolster that card, or they're going to try and do that as much as possible, because it is the first Peacock show. Yeah. That's it. So
the first trial run, the first time to get everything wrong before WrestleMania.
That's it. That is precisely it. So who better to cause everything to go crazy and tits up than having Roman Reigns there to ruin everyone's lives?
Indeed. But moving on to the Twitter questions of the day. If you want, you can ask us questions on Twitter over at WhatCulture WWE. But the first up comes from Bryan who says, "Am I the only one who finds the 4K camera shots on SmackDown to be very distracting and almost unnecessary?"
That's an interesting take. For the most part, I feel like they've gone down quite well. I really like them because it's again, not to tie things into UFC and MMA, but UFC have been doing it recently. I think they did it at UFC, the last big mainstream event that they had. They started using it, and I just think it looks really good and really cinematic, and it makes everything it makes you really focus on the people who are in that central shot, and it just makes everything feel epic for me. I know it's really just simplistic way of looking at it, but I do watch it and go, wow, that's really cool. I don't know why. That's how I feel about it.
I really like them as well in general. I don't think they've perfected them yet. There's definitely still room to work on there. Like, part of WWE and their production value is the sort of entrances are so sort of choreographed with the cameras and the wrestlers that like each person gets like their unique set of like camera movements and things, like when you think about the Undertaker appearing in the distance and the camera coming up too close to like right underneath him and things like that. And they haven't quite developed a sort of camera personality for each individual character yet. It's all kind of the same. It's all a little bit wide, trying to keep it all in the action. And they're not very good at responding to movements of the wrestlers yet. Like, sometimes they'll move out of frame a little bit too quickly and things like that. So I think there's work to be done. But overall, I think it looks amazing, and adds just something a bit different and a bit unique and sort of just visually interesting and appealing. So I'm into it.
It's not often we can say that about WWE, so
Indeed.
That's...
Next up, question from Mark Smith, who says, "With both Rumble winners facing both SmackDown champions, has Vince finally admitted that Raw is no longer the A show? And do you fear for SmackDown if Vince starts treating it like the A show?"
I'm glad that second half of the question came in there, because that was my look. I was like, oh no, don't do it. It's not. No, it's the B show, Vince. It's still the B show. Stay away from my SmackDown. There is a fear of that. The genuine, like, if you look throughout WWE history, when Raw and SmackDown have had those moments, those peaks and troughs, whenever one show starts doing well, Vince goes, oh, all right, and then goes after that show and starts putting his fingerprints all over it, and then the ship starts sinking, and then the other show gets better, and it's a relentless cycle, but I'm just hoping we can stave it off for a bit. We can just hold it off until at least WrestleMania. Then after that, it's probably going to go tits up anyway. So just keep it as it is until WrestleMania, please.
I'm going to stay positive. I don't think Vince will ever consider SmackDown as the A show, no matter like how much money it makes on Fox or whatever. I think just Raw's his baby, and that'll always be the case. And I hope that'll always be the case, because, I mean, SmackDown's flown under the radar as a very good show for quite a while now, without getting ruined by general WWE nonsense. And I want it to fly under that radar for as long as humanly possible. So let's hope he doesn't realise. And the final question comes from J-Man, who says, "Greetings, Saturday News legends. Do you think that the working together of Impact, AEW, and New Japan would be a collectively bigger than WWE? Because it sounds like Vince McMahon nightmare fuel."
It's an interesting one, that, because you've got that collection, that conglomerate, if you want to say, of talent of New Japan and AEW. If you just look at some of the top names within all those companies, if you just throw all those together on one show, my God, what a super show you've got there. But WWE is a titan. It's a titan right now. Just it touches everywhere. Like, in terms of like the wrestling industry, you say the words WWE and it's just synonymous with wrestling. It's the first thing that people think of when they think of professional wrestling. So it'd take a long time of those three units all working together and just all singing from the same song sheet for them to come close to WWE, because they've just been unopposed for so long and been doing it at this level of just universal acknowledgement for so long as well. So I think it'd be very difficult for three promotions and three different like heads of companies to all see eye to eye for that amount of time. So I wish it could be, because competition's great for everybody, but I can't see it, sadly. I can't see it ever really being challenged.
Yeah, me neither. Like you say, WWE is synonymous with wrestling. It is like breaking that sort of brand to genre partnership that WWE have created of so many years of just being on the top, where people think of wrestling, it's just WWE. And in terms of capturing the casual audience, they have so much easier access to them because of that, and because of their big TV deals and things like that. So yeah, this huge global company that they've created I don't think they could even come close, even joining forces. I mean, eventually, maybe, after sort of years and years of hard work, but it's not going to be a quick ride. It's going to be a very, very long slog to get there. And like you say, having 3 companies working together for that long towards one common goal probably won't go well in the long run. So yeah, I don't see any of them taking over WWE in that top spot. They're always going to be there, but at the same time, it'll be a lot of fun for us to watch them try.
Yeah, it will. It'll produce some very good wrestling, and that's what we all love.
Indeed. And that was the Saturday News. Thank you so much for joining us. If you want, you can follow us on Twitter. You can follow me at FilmMyChambers, and you can follow Gareth
at GMorgan04.
And like I said, you can follow all of us at WhatCulture WWE. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, like the video, and comment down below what you think of all of today's news stories, including whether you think AEW, New Japan, and Impact could collectively take over WWE. But most importantly, have yourselves a bloody good day. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.